Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Tasliman kathiran kathira. I begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu, the glorious and the magnificent, the creator, sustainer, maintainer, protector of the universe and all that it contains, to whom is all our return, and I send salutations on his messenger, the last and final of them, Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, peace and blessings be upon him. 19 children dead. Should I be thankful that in Buffalo and Uvalde, or in many instances of mass shootings that happen as regularly as rainfall in America, none of the casualty lists had the name of one of my loved ones? Or should I see every single one who died as my loved one? I believe that is the root of the whole matter. The Quran is clear as daylight in this, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the glorious and magnificent, says, من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, which is the 5th surah, the ayah number 32, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have decreed that if anyone kills a person not in retaliation for murder or to stop the spread of mischief in the land, it would be as if he killed all of mankind. And if anyone saves one life, it would be as if he saved the life of all mankind. In the Quran and in the Sunnah, he automatically means he and she, so this is not gender specific. Retaliation in this ayah refers to a judge sentencing a murderer to death after due process in law and investigation, and this is not a license for vigilante action. Killing one innocent person, Allah did not say one innocent Muslim, one innocent person, no matter his or her faith or race or ethnicity or gender or color or anything else, is equal in Islam to wiping out of all mankind. And saving one life is equal to saving all of mankind. Now, what can be clearer than this? It doesn't matter if the one killed or saved was Muslim or anything else. The Quran says person, nafsan, person, human being, human life. That is the most important and the first principle of Islamic jurisprudence, and that takes precedence over everything else. My question to my fellow Americans is, how many more must die before we understand that sanctity of human life must take precedence over everything else in a civilized society? Does the body count justify our obsession with guns? In the words of the Nobel Prize winner, I'm sorry I can't sing it the way he sings it, Bob Dylan, he said, yes, and how many years must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. My friends, my brothers, my sisters, my elders, I believe it is not guns, but something deeper and more malignant that ails us. The problem is that we have created a society that is based on the worship of the self. Our supreme law is, I like it, so it must be good. How what I like may affect others, whether others like what I like or not, whether it harms them, helps them, is not something that I am prepared to consider. The first thing I remind myself and you is that loss bereavement, grief, pain is an intrinsic part of life. This is not news for you, of course. We all know this, but it is good to remind ourselves about this when we are facing bereavement and grief. That what happened is inevitable and would have happened one day. Meaning the people who died, they would have died one day. Not in this way, but some other way. I say that because the only incontrovertible truth of life is that we all die one day. Some go early, some go later. But all of us will go. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded us. And part of this is the ayah that Sister Rubaba mentioned to you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُم مُّصِيبَةٌ قالوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ راجعون أُولَئِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَلَوَاتٌ مِّن رَّبِّهِمْ وَرَحْمَةٌ وَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُهْتَدُونَ. Which means, and we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and loss of wealth and lives and fruits. But give glad tidings to those who are patient, who, when disaster strikes, they say, indeed we belong to Allah, and indeed to Him we return. Those are the ones upon whom are blessings from their Lord, from their Rabb, and His mercy, and it is those who are rightly guided. In Islam, our way is to remind ourselves that it is okay to shed tears as much as we want. But we don't complain, we don't curse, we don't express despair. We accept that all of us belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that all of us will return to Him. These are words we say even when we feel sad and aggrieved and desolated and devastated at the memory of a loss we faced in the past, or when we miss our loved one or the life that we had planned with them. We remember that our patience is being rewarded more than we can imagine. We remember that sadness does not last forever, even if memories do. In Gestalt psychology, there is a saying, what you resist persists. What you accept is transformed. We resist because we associate something negative with what happened. In the case of bereavement and all this gun violence, to accept is not to say that what happened was good, but deliberately to focus on all the happy memories associated with that person who is no longer with us. We remember that life is a struggle, and those who are successful are those who overcome the struggle that they face. Who do you respect more? Someone who lives a charmed life with every happiness and so was never depressed, never suicidal, never any problem, on the one hand. And on the other hand, someone who was buffeted in the storms on the ocean, who was beaten, who faced hardship, loss, bereavement, fell into deep depression, became suicidal on the brink many times, but then came out of it stronger, wiser, full of compassion and kindness, a heart full of love for others. Who do we respect more? Dumb question, right? Hardship is a test. Those who overcome it graduate into another higher stage of life. What must we do? Psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who did her research in this part of the world, at Harvard, in her research with terminally ill patients, she wrote a wonderful book called On Death and Dying. And in that she named a process which she called SARAH, S-A-R-A-H. And when I counsel people, I tell them, make friends with SARAH. This acronym refers to the 5 stages that someone who gets news of terminal illness goes through. The same happens to people who face death of a loved one, or divorce, or loss of employment, or business failure, even critical feedback. And the stages are SARAH: shock, anger, resistance, acceptance, help. Let me quickly go through that. I will talk to you about what we must do with SARAH, and what we as the friends of those who have been bereaved can do to help them. I think both of these are important. The first one is shock, which is really denial, where you can't believe that it happened. You said this happened to me? No, it didn't happen to me. I refuse to believe it. Wrong. We feel trapped and we look for a way to escape. You want to wake up from the nightmare and discover that though you are sweating, you are safe in your bed, in your own bedroom, until you realize that you are awake and that this has happened to you. Next is anger. Why me? Why me? Anger is the body's natural reaction to threat, and therefore, there is no greater threat than the loss of someone you love or the loss of the way you envisioned life would be. Anger can also feel powerful during times when we feel powerless, as in facing bereavement. It's done, gone. I can't bring it back. I'm completely helpless, which makes me extremely angry. You may experience nervousness, palpitations, restlessness, shortness of breath, and all of these are physical signs. Now you are looking for someone to hold responsible, someone to blame. You may find someone and may be justified in that, or you may just strike out and even hurt someone who was not responsible for your loss. Third, R, rejection. This stage is characterized by an overwhelming desire for life to return to the way it was. Depression is a real possibility here. You may feel a loss of energy. You might find yourself crying more than you usually do. It may also feel like you have less motivation, find less enjoyment in activities that you used to love. You may refuse to meet people, seclude yourself. In the case of terminal illness, seek second, third, fourth opinions, go from hospital to hospital, scanner to scanner. And this stage can feel as though it will go on forever. And the acceptance of the reality that the person is physically gone and they are not coming back, and this new reality is the permanent reality, may seem impossible at this stage. And then we come to the stage of acceptance. And this is when you know that the emptiness is now a part of you. And somehow it feels as if it belongs there. This does not mean that you're okay with what happened. The loss of someone you love will never be okay. But gradually you will be able to come out of seclusion and start your normal routines. The goal in this stage is to learn how to live with this loss and create new meaning, a new normal, despite the huge piece that is missing. Routines help enormously, so does aerobic exercise. And the last one, H, help. Through prayer, through counseling, through therapy, and other means to learn to come to terms with the bereavement and think about life ahead. Friends help and can help enormously. But people who understand what to do, people to share the grief with, to talk to, people who will listen to you and just be there and help you to come to terms with your loss. Now, what to do when a friend is bereaved? Same process. I'm looking at it from the perspective of you and me as a friend to the one who is bereaved. Shock. If you are helping a friend through these stages of grief, here are some reminders that will help you. When you encounter the shock, remain silent. Say nothing. But stay with them. Speak little, if at all. Just be with them. They may need medical attention. In some cases, they might need sedation and so on and so forth. Make sure that happens. They may need water. They may need physical warmth. Maybe they need distance. It is essential that you are very sensitive to their needs and give them what they need and not what you think they should have. Very important to remember that grief can be an individualized and unpredictable experience, and no two people's experiences will be the same. One must remember this while helping someone through their grief and not expect them to behave in the same way as someone else. Accept their difference and respect that. Give time, have patience, and just be there for them. 2. Anger. Now this is a very tough one. When you encounter their anger, remind yourself again and again and again that you are not the target, even if it looks like that. The anger is at what happened, and when they are hitting out, just stay out of the way, don't get hit. But if you get hit, remember, it's not you they are doing it to. Never ever react. Don't preach. Don't justify. Remain silent and supportive. Don't hurry them. Don't tell them what they should or should not do. Water, coffee, blanket, silence. And pray for them. Number 3, rejection. When they reject what you say, remember that they are not rejecting you. And that's another reason to say very little. They need time to accept their loss. They want life to go back to how it was. So do you. But you know that it's not going to happen. They will also get there, but it will take time. Because they are bleeding. You are not. Give them that time. You can't hurry them. Don't hurry them. Being there for them is the most valuable thing that you can do for them. Take over some of their routine chores. Try to draw them out gently into things that will serve to distract them from their grief. In Islam, among Muslim cultures, if there is bereavement, if somebody has been bereaved, if there is a death in some home, the community will send them food. They will not let them cook for themselves and so on. For several days, they will get food from the community. People even talk to each other because they don't want to pile them with a whole lot of food. So they talk to each other and say, what are you sending? I will send this and so on and so forth. This is a sign of taking care of your people. Try to draw them out gently into things that will serve to distract them from their grief. And the key word here is gently. This may include speaking about good times you had with a person who passed away and so on. But do that with great sensitivity because it can sometimes go wrong. Timing is everything. And if you do something and you see it going wrong, back off. There is no ego involved. Number 4, acceptance. This is the stage when you can really do the most and be most beneficial as a friend. Kindness, compassion, sensitivity to the need of the bereaved person. Once again, don't hurry, don't push. Let it happen at its own pace. Everyone has their own pace. Respect that and be there. And finally, help. Now's the time when you can help them yourself. If you can, or help to find qualified helpers. Pray with them, stay with them. There is no magic formula. You will need to respond to what emerges as they come to terms with their new reality, minus the person who meant all the world to them. But if you do it right, you will see them grow stronger and more mature, and you will see them smile once again. I recall a case in the United Kingdom of a Bangladeshi Muslim doctor who had gone away from his family, and if I'm not mistaken, it was his wife and 3 children. He had gone to some other country and some other province, some other part of the country to attend to a case, when he gets a phone call and he says, your house has been firebombed. When he comes back, he finds that his house was firebombed and his entire family perished. Everybody died. And to make matters worse, when they finally investigated the case, they found that the people who firebombed his house did that by mistake. They had actually targeted somebody else. And what do you do? What the man did was something which really boggles my mind. He went into the court and he said, I have forgiven these people. What they did is between them and God. How do you get the heart to do that? To me, this is one of the finest examples. Yes, of Islam, but also of a connection in the heart with God Almighty, where the heart is big enough to forgive. And also, it's a sign of what must be done, which is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about them, forgiveness is about us. I know it's easy to preach. I never had to deal with my whole family being wiped out. But I'm doing my best to share my understanding. Finally, to end, let's ask the most important question of all. What are we going to do to ensure that this never happens again? Let me give you some numbers. Today as I speak, as on today, June 22nd, 2022, mass shootings and other shootings, all shootings in the United States combined, 20,732 people have died already. And we are only through half the year. And I didn't dream up this figure. Sister Rubaba put the link in your chat box. There were 693 mass shootings, and mass shootings are described where 4 or more people die. So if 3 people die, it's not called a mass shooting. In 2021, last year, there were 693 mass shootings. I checked and found that the number of days in 2021 was still 365. Do the math. And in that year, 2021, 21,000 people died because of gun violence in America. This year, 20,730 have died in the 6 months. Does this body count justify whatever so-called right that we think we are upholding? Seriously, we have to ask this question. In a society where our taxes pay for law enforcement, why must we carry guns to defend ourselves? I am not against gun ownership, just as I am not against car ownership. I am against unfettered ownership of something which has the potential to destroy the lives of others in the hands of someone who is not capable of handling it. If a mature, mentally stable person without a criminal record, trained to handle a weapon, wants to own a gun for hunting or a small arm for personal safety because of special circumstances that he or she may be living in, let them do so by all means. But those conditions: mature, mentally stable, without a criminal record, trained to handle a weapon. But what is the justification for a military-style assault rifle, assault weapon being sold to someone who is mentally unstable or sick, has a criminal record, and is highly likely to use that weapon to kill others, only because we will not accept background checks or medical checks? I wonder if any of those holding up the signs justifying unfettered gun ownership by anyone, we saw all these demos for gun ownership. I wonder if any of those holding the signs justifying unfettered gun ownership by anyone without any background checks, without any mental health checks, I wonder if they also held the body of their little child in their hand, dead from a bullet in the heart, shot by someone like themselves who believed in the unfettered right to bear arms. What more can I say? I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Lord Almighty, to bless all these good people who have gathered here to pray for those bereaved, to pray for comfort for them. And I once again strongly encourage every one of you and everyone you can reach to really do something to ensure that gun control happens. Yes, we should gather. Yes, we should pray. But in Urdu we say dawa and dua. Medicine and prayer have to go hand in hand. We have the prayer. What's the medicine? Thank you very much.